Hi, welcome back to my channel. So it's second semester now, so we're gonna start again with homework 1, podcast 1. So we're gonna go right into the questions. And so we're gonna talk about a little bit about inclusion. So when it comes to a group situation, I feel like I want to be 100% included by others. I feel like work is able to be, or ideas are able to be shared more easily, and I feel more safe and more at home. And I feel like I can have like a stronger relationship with people who are inclusive and are accepting of me and my ideas, rather than not. I feel a time when I felt included by others is in my SGA Flex class. So we always talk about, like, in my class, we always talk about various leadership perspectives, philosophies. We talk about leadership, and we talk about ourselves and our own life values, and a lot of our views on the world and various problems that are throughout the world. And there's 30 of us, and none of us are the same. And I really like the idea of how everyone in our flex class, we're just a very diverse group of people, and we all acknowledge that we're all different, but we also acknowledge that even though we're all different and we all have different ideas and we all have different we all have different thoughts about life and leadership, and philosophies, even though it's all different, everyone has something to bring to the table, and everyone has an idea which is valuable, whether whether people agree or disagree. So I really liked that, and I felt like a lot more like safe, and I felt like I was part of something, part of a family. I felt a lot closer to the other 29 members of my group. Another time when I didn't feel included was probably when I was a long time in middle school, when I used to have a friend group, and I never really felt included because I felt like they would always be keeping secrets from me, and they would always, or my friends would always like be like, I felt kind of detached, as in I never really was invited to things outside of school, and they'd always never really treated me the same way as they would treat each other. So it was just, I felt kind of lonely, and I felt like my ideas weren't valued, and that me as a person, like, they didn't value me as a person. I had some interesting friends in middle school, but I think it was just that they didn't see me as someone who was worth their time, and I felt detached and kind of sad. I felt like I wasn't part of something. So yeah, that's question 1. So for question 2, when it comes to college students and being adequately and honestly prepared to be challenged and like engage in controversial dialogue, I feel that we're not always prepared, just because even though we experienced a diverse group of people in college, and even like some people before college also like experience different cultures and perspectives, I feel like sometimes we still live on a single track of like, this is how I think, and it doesn't change. As in, like, when we grow up, we have our parents' views that are kind of instilled in us, and that's just one track. So I feel like conversations that are hard, like controversial dialogues, don't really occur enough for college students to always be prepared. And I feel like when it comes to staying safe space, I feel it's not really that students are trying to protect themselves from that dialogue. I feel like it's more like the safe spaces are spaces where people can talk about their feelings and they won't be judged. And like, safe spaces are more where people are able to kind of open up if they want to about who they are, and people won't judge them for who they are, and it was a space where their ideas are listened to, and a space where their ideas are valued, not a place where like they avoid from getting anxiety, more of like where they get to talk about their feelings and reduce their anxiety, if that makes sense. So that is my conclusion for question 2. Sorry. So for question 3, I feel like some of the scenes that I'll still remember, that I'll keep in mind, will probably be the scenes of like the looks on the kids' faces when they were being discriminated against, and when they were being labeled as brown eyes or blue eyes, or like after they came back from recess, and like the kids were like saying like one hit another kid, and like they were calling each other names, and it was just so saddening to see those kids like turn their backs on each other just like that, like in a matter of even less than a day, like less than an hour probably. Like, they just turned their backs on each other because they were different, and they were discriminating each other because they looked different, and like just to see how they hurt each other just because of that, it really made me upset. So I think that's something that will stick in my head. I think the exercise Jane Elliott conducted is something that is still relevant today. There definitely is still a lot of discrimination in our modern day society, unfortunately. And it's just kind of sad that we're like this, but I'd like to think that we are on a path where we are becoming more societally progressive, better than it used to be. So even though we still have problems, I feel like we're like modern day society, we're all trying to work to make society the most socially acceptable it can be and make everyone feel included in a diverse society. So yeah, that's question 3. So I've been doing so many takes for question 4 because it's been so hard for me to answer for some reason. Excuse me, but I feel, how do my identities help me drive change? Well, I first like to think that I have a bunch of different identities, but all those identities make me into one like main identity, which is me, David's identity. And how do those identities help me drive change? Well, I've acknowledged that all of my identities make me into one whole unique identity, and that my identity is different than everyone else's. And I really like the concept of how, I really like, even though this isn't really reality, I like the idea of how everyone is different, but we all are working together to help make the world a better place, and we all acknowledge that we are all different, but because of our differences, we all are able to bring unique perspectives and ideas to the table when it comes to solving problems and working together. So I feel like my identities, like I want to have my identities heard, and I want to have other people's identities be heard. So like one of the reasons why my identities help me drive change is because of how different I am. And I want to have my identities kind of have a fair influence on the global stage, if that makes sense, compared to everyone else's. Not saying that my identity is greater than others, but I want my identities to kind of have a say, if that makes sense. So that's how I drive change. I become part of various organizations which kind of align with my identities, and I help my identities kind of have a voice. Some of my identities are persecuted more than others, and some of my identities may be frowned upon within certain societies, and I feel that I need to change that. I want to change that, and that's why how my identities bring about change, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's my answer to number 4. I hope it made sense. But yeah. So for question 5, I feel that diversity and inclusion fits in most with the group values section of the social change model, because I just feel that collaboration and the formation of a common purpose, in order for those to be fluid, without conflict and aggression, I feel you kind of need to have diversity and inclusion, so everyone is able to feel included, have a say, feel like they're contributing to whatever solution is being formulated. And I feel that in order to have a solid common purpose where everyone agrees 100%, you need to be able to have them feel like they are part of the process which determines that common purpose, and that comes to inclusion. And when it comes to collaboration, just working together, especially in diverse groups, inclusion can be a struggle. But when it comes to collaborating with others and being inclusive, everyone should really acknowledge that everyone has different ideas, but that's okay that everyone thinks differently, and everyone has something different to bring to the table. And a difference of opinions is okay, and you can use the difference of opinions to have controversy with civility and really talk about your ideas and figure out what is best for everyone in the end, whether that be one idea or a combination of ideas. And I feel like just being inclusive and being open to others really helps really helps the process of solving a problem and having people work together and get along, you know. So that is my answer for question 5. Don't forget to subscribe and like, comment if you want to, and I hope you have a great evening or morning or afternoon whenever you're watching this. Thanks.